Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. In today's video, we're going to look at the US-Iranian deal. We're going to have a deep dive conversation about it. Yesterday was a bit rushed, so we didn't have time to think. And today we had a little bit of time to think and listen to what other people are saying, and then we can kind of discuss it amongst us. Those of you who've just recently joined my channel, don't forget, I've got a new channel opening up, and right now the new channel is being reviewed. As you can see, it's under progress to be monetized. So thanks for everyone that's joined and watched the videos on that channel. So once that channel gets monetized, I'll be focused on that channel more and more. So make sure you join it. The link is on my description, and yeah, I really appreciate everyone that's moved across so far. I think there's around 1,200 or something like that. I really appreciate everyone that's joined so far. You guys are my real friends. I see every one of you in my comment section, and you guys regularly watch my videos, so really, really thankful for that. We are fighting the good fight, so keep on fighting, guys. We're here to spread the truth, justice around the world, and you guys are a small percentage of the human race who are high IQ. So keep up the good fight, guys. Keep it up, and I'm really proud of you. Anyway, let's move on with the show. So we had some time to look at the MOU that's been signed yesterday. But it's not really been signed if you think about it. I think the real signature is on Friday. And people online, I've been analyzing people today, trying to see everyone's reactions from I was trying to see the Jewish reaction. I was trying to see reactions from Zios, and I was trying to get reactions from obviously the Iranian side and generally Muslims as well around the world, and also the West. I was looking at all the articles and papers in Britain and America. So I looked through all the data and I was trying to come to a conclusion. The conclusion is that the Jays are not very happy with it. The Zs are not very happy with it. Obviously, I'm putting them in separate categories. The West is pretty much happy. I think people in the European side and the rest of the world, they're pretty happy because this means that the oil can start flowing again, which is good for their economies. The Americans are split between 50-50, basically. You have the MAGA side, obviously, not very happy. And you have the Obama, Biden supporters, the Democrats. And they are pretty much throwing shade at the MAGA people. Because basically, the MAGA has been throwing shade at the Democrats for years. They've been saying Obama signed a deal with Iran with the JCPOA and he handed them 1.7 billion. So they've been using that as an excuse and throwing that as ammunition against Democrats and Obama and Biden. But Trump has just agreed to a deal worth around 324 billion. So what's bigger, 1.7 billion or 327 billion? And this has been confirmed, by the way, by JD Vance on an interview and stuff. And it's not cash, by the way. It's not all it's not all cash to be given by taxpayers or anything like that. Most of it's frozen funds. I think 100 billion or so is frozen funds. These are Iranian frozen funds stuck in UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, because when Iran did not have sanctions as part of the JCPOA, they used to trade with their neighbors. So once those sanctions kicked in those funds got frozen in those countries. So obviously they want it back. So around 100 billion is the frozen funds. 200 billion is basically reconstruction work. So Iran was adamant that they need that money, reconstruction work, otherwise they're not gonna open the Strait of Hormuz, because otherwise they're gonna take money from the Strait of Hormuz and use that for reconstruction. So obviously the Americans want the Strait of Hormuz to be completely open, so they agreed to this deal of 200 billion reconstruction costs. And basically, the Gulf countries will pay most of it. So already there's, you know, noises coming out from UAE, Saudi, Qatar, and other GCC countries. They're basically going to all chip in and pay for reconstruction costs in Iran. And American businesses and companies will also go into Iran with and do some of the reconstruction work as well. So they will benefit as well. Sanctions will be lifted. So this means Iran can start selling oil to the rest of the world, and investment money can come from the rest of the world into the oil and gas sector and develop these oil fields much more. So it's good. It's end of the day, it's good news. But there's a lot of people online who have got some obviously reservations, including me, by the way. And a lot of people are wondering, you forgot about Israel, because Israel is not going to allow this to happen. Then, all of the J's and Z's I see online, they are having a hissy fit. They are absolutely going bonkers. They are going, well, let's just put it this way. They're not happy with this deal. And I think Trump has been put into a trap. He's been very much coerced into a war with Iran, and whether it was Netanyahu or Mossad or somebody convinced him that if he takes out the Grand Ayatollah, Iran would collapse, and the new leaderships will, they can put the new leaderships like they did with Ukraine or um, Venezuela, and it'll be easy. The whole system will collapse, and Americans will put the new leaders in there, and they will have access to all of the gas and oil, and all the people will rise up and support America and Israel, and it's just wishful thinking, by the way. So obviously it didn't help by on the first day where they blew up a school with lots of young girls. It didn't really help when they did that. And didn't really help when they started blowing up infrastructure and oil facilities. Because when you do that, it means you're having a war with the people, not just the leadership. And also the Grand Ayatollah, he was loved by everyone. Whether you know he was a symbol for Shia Muslims all around the world, and and uh, and I think Trump realizes he's made a big mistake by killing him, because he was already 90 years old. He had lots of issues with his health. People say that he had cancer or something. I'm not sure, obviously. I've heard that from somewhere, but anyway, he was very, very old. I think he was around 90 or 80 to 90, and he was very old. And they turned him into a martyr by killing him. He'll be a martyr for the rest of his life, basically, and that's what he wanted. He had the chance to hide in a bunker, but he refused. He refused to go out like that. He said that, if they wanted to take him out, let them take him out. And he almost dared them, and that's what they did. That's what Netanyahu and Trump did. And it's quite funny because Netanyahu came out today and he said that it wasn't the goal for, you know, It wasn't the goal to do regime change. If it wasn't the goal to do regime change, then why kill the Grand Ayatollah? Why did you do that if it wasn't the goal? That, you're basically taking out a leader who's loved by most people in Iran. Probably 99.99% of people in Iran love him. He's been around for a long time, and throughout his history, he's always fought for Iran, and he's risen from the ranks, and he's been a great leader. So, and he's not just loved in Iran; he's loved all across the Muslim world as well. There's a lot of Shias living all over the world. So I think that was a big mistake, and I think Netanyahu realized that, and he said that today. It wasn't his goal for regime change, but he's done regime change. End of the day, he's tried to do it anyway. He tried to do it, and he failed. Israel has said that they're not going to comply with this MOU, and obviously the MOU is not legally binding, guys. It's not like something you cannot use it as a legally binding document. But end of the day, it's still a start. It's still a document. End of the day. Because in history, there's a funny picture of all the Jays are spreading pictures of JD Vance and Trump, and it seems to be this. There seems to be some sort of I don't know whether Trump is doing this or the White House. There seems to be an organized like event to blame JD Vance for all of this because they are sending him out to sign the paperwork. If you notice, they're sending him out to sign it in Geneva. Trump's not signing it. It's going to have JD Vance's name all over it. So this is why they're trying to blame everything on JD Vance because I think Trump and JD Vance don't get along, and I think Trump is trying to blame this whole Iran war thing on JD Vance because it's going to have JD Vance's signature on it. So in history, they're going to try and blame JD Vance. But in the day, everyone knows that, probably now obviously JD Vance is part of the administration, but it was all Trump. It was all Trump's decision, and probably even Rubio. But Rubio's a lot more clever. You can see he's a lot more clever in the administration, and he seems to be he seems to be playing the game. He knows. I think he's been around a lot in these kind of situations, so he's playing the game. He's trying to you know, maneuver himself in the administration. He's trying to play the game. He's not adding his name into anything. If you notice, he's a lot more sneakier, Marco Rubio. But yeah, it looks like they're trying to pin all the blame on JD Vance by the looks of it. There are some Jays online doing stuff like this. They obviously trying to you know they're trying to hint that they want to do something to Trump basically. And I wouldn't be surprised because, obviously, it's widely known that JFK was assassinated you know, by Israel. Basically, they kind of they did that, and the reason they did that is because, yeah, you know, John F. Kennedy he wanted to put limits on Israeli nuclear facilities. He wanted to get inspectors in their nuclear facilities. He wanted Israel to be open about the nuclear program and things like that. And they got rid of him because of it. Well, that's the theory anyway. I do agree with the theory, by the way. So let's talk a bit more about this MOU. So obviously, it's not really legally binding, and anyone can break it. And it looks like Israel is more likely to break it, to be honest, because I don't think Trump has got it in him to carry this on any longer. I don't think Trump, personally, I don't think Trump wants to, you know, carry on with this war with Iran because already his approval rating is is destroyed. He's got the November midterms coming up. Inflation is through the roof. He's already spent 100 billion or maybe more in this war. He's lost so many American bases all across the Middle East. He's lost, American personnel. I think 13 members have died, many countless injured. He's lost lots of planes and, you know, radars and lots of equipment in this war. He's lost a lot in this war. And, and a lot of the missiles that they're using, like Tomahawks and stuff, is not easily replaceable. To replace these missiles, they need to get a lot of rare earths from China, and China has got restrictions on rare earths. And so he's stuck really. He cannot replenish all of his stock very quickly. It's going to take years. Oil prices are through the roof, and also you can see from this graph that oil reserves are near the bottom, guys. This is the lowest it's ever been since 1985, by the looks of it. So the reserves are very, very low, not only in America, but the rest of the world. So oil prices are kept artificially low at the moment. So when the reserves run out, you're going to see oil prices again shoot up. This is this is not going to end very quickly. The oil prices are not going to go back. This is going to take months, maybe even years to get back to normal. So things are not going to be that easy. However, I do think that there's going to be major problems signing this deal on Friday, and mainly because of Israel, and because Iran wanted Lebanon to be part of the deal, and obviously Israel is not going to agree to it. So Trump has two options. He can either rain on Israel. He can, tell them either agree to the deal or we are not going to supply you any money or weapons. You are on your own. So there's going to be a major divorce between America and Israel. Or Trump will listen to Israel and carry on with the war, basically. Carry on with the. It's going to be similar to what you see last few weeks. There's going to be a ceasefire, but there's going to be attacks in between. And Trump is going to be playing the stock market. He's going to say, "Oh yeah, we're going to sign a deal. We're going to sign a deal," and then there's no deal to be signed. Then he's just going to do that until the midterms. So those are the two options. I think that there's a lot of people online who are saying, "Oh, it's an MOU. You can't trust, you can't trust the J's, you can't trust the Z's, and you can't even trust America because they never keep up with the agreements." And you're 100% right. You guys are 100% right. You cannot trust them. But the thing is, Iran has to go through these motions for many reasons. Number one, there is something in writing, first of all, because end of the day, guys, you got to look at history, you know, and history is judged not by words, by documents and actions. So 50 or 100 years time, people are going to look back and they're going to see the MOU that's been signed and agreed, and then they're going to see who broke that MOU. So if the Israelis break it or if the Americans break it, then it's down to them. So the history books will show who was who was the righteous and who was the person or people or countries that broke the deal, broke the agreement. So just having this document signed and agreed, this is very, very good for Iran because it covers them for any eventual disagreement in the future. Whether Israel breaks it or America breaks it, at least something's in there in writing, and this can be used in the history books, maybe 50 or 100 years time, when people are reading about the Iran war, they can see that this MOU was signed, this was agreed, and then a few days later, Israel breaks it. So it's very important to have these events, in paper, in a contract signed and agreed. Secondly, secondly, guys, this is very important. Israel and United States still have escalation dominance. So when I say that, I mean we know that America still has around 6,000 N bombs. I have to say N bombs because looks like YouTube it doesn't like when you say the word. I can't say it, but I will just say N bomb. And we know that Israel has lots of N bombs as well. But we do know that Iran possibly might or might not have. We don't know yet. Nothing's for sure. But one thing we do know, Iran does not have more N bombs than America or Israel. And if Israel and America decided to N bomb Iran, I don't think Iran would have much of a chance, to be honest, because even if they drop, let's just say if they drop 100 all over Iran, that would literally wipe out their civilization, like Trump said. So they could do that if they wanted. So I think Iran knows that they have, the Americans have escalation dominance. And this is why it's very important for Iran to build an N bomb themselves. Not just one, but at least 100 to protect themselves. Because we know that Israel has around 100 to 200, could even be 300. So they need the same amount as Israel for it to be a total deterrence. But 100 should be enough, guys. Yeah. Even one is more than enough. But the thing is, the reason you have so many is because you can send them to all different parts of Iran. Iran is a quite a big country, and you can send them to different parts of Iran, all the major cities, all the major like military bases and things like that. And the reason America has around 6,000 is because they worked out that they need 6,000 to fire if there's a major end war between Russia and United States. United States has picked out 6,000 targets in this. Back then, it was the Soviet Union. So these targets were major cities, major bases, major ports, major like oil facilities, things like that. So they picked out 6,000 targets, and this is why they have around 6,000 N bombs. And Russia obviously has matched that. They got 6,000 as well. China's still catching up. I believe China's got around 1,000, or they will have 1,000 by 2030. China will soon catch up, but China doesn't need 6,000 to be honest, because I think with today's technology, just one on a hypersonic missile would be equivalent to 100 or maybe even 1,000 of N bombs. And thirdly, which is also important, Iran has got obviously China and Russia, Pakistan, and the rest of the world pretty much gunning for Iran at the moment because the whole world sees Israel and United States as the aggressor here. So Iran, you know, to carry on having the support from, China and Russia and the rest of the world, they need to show that they are, you know, having discussions, they are doing everything correctly, they are also pushing for peace. And so they have to be shown that they are not, warmongering like United States and Israel. They have to be gunning for peace and stuff. And this is why you see, China and Russia helping Iran because they know, you know, United States and Israel is in the wrong. So they are obviously helping their allies. and um, and Iran has to basically adhere to that. They have to follow. They have to show the world that they are following international law, and they are the ones that are being bullied and attacked. They are basically the victims, and so Iran has to do things by the book. Unfortunately, while America and Israel, we know that they are not, but the world knows that anyway. And Iran does not want to be in the same level as that. So they have to be shown to be, focusing on peace deals and doing signing peace documents, MOUs, and all of that. So they have to do it. So there's a lot of questions online also asking why why didn't Iran add Gaza to the peace deal? Why did they only add Lebanon? So I will answer why. You know, First of all, Gaza has got its own peace deal. It's that peace deal that they signed with Trump, the Trump's Palestine peace deal. Obviously nothing's happened from it, but this peace deal was agreed by the resistance in Gaza and all of and there's a lot of Muslim countries in that group, including Pakistan, by the way, and obviously all the GCC countries and things like that. So So Gaza is already part of the that ceasefire peace deal, and so technically there's nothing Iran can do with that. Secondly, Gaza is the responsibility for every single Muslim around the world. It's not, it's very, very unfair to put the fate of Gaza on Iran. Very unfair. Because there's 2 billion Muslims around the world, and each and every Muslim has got a responsibility to make sure, they do as much as they can to free Palestine and to obviously to save their brothers and sisters. And most of the responsibility goes to the Gulf Arabs because most of the Muslims in Gaza are Sunni Arabs, Gulf Arabs. And also the neighboring countries like Egypt, Syria, Jordan, the neighboring countries have even got a bigger responsibility because, these are their neighbors and brothers and sisters. Unfortunately, the neighboring countries have signed the Abraham Accords with Israel, peace deals with Israel, and they are pretty much not doing much. So I think the responsibility should lie on every single Muslim, not just the GCC, but everyone, all the Muslims around the world, including countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia. Every Muslim has got a responsibility, basically. So I think it's quite unfair to pin all that responsibility to Iran. Saying that, guys, Iran has been funding the axis of resistance for a long time now. We're talking, you know, a good 40, 50 years, Iran has been funding the axis of resistance. And the axis of resistance is basically groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, groups in Syria, in Iraq, even in Jordan as well. Basically, these are your axis of resistance who are fighting against occupation and against Israel's aggression. And Iran has been mainly funding these groups and obviously like providing them weapons and stuff. All the drone technology you've seen recently with Hezbollah, that's obviously come from Iran because they got that technology from Russia, the FPV drones and things like that. And and they got that technology from Russia because they provided Russia with the Shahid drones. So obviously, Russia and Iran are working together, helping each other. So Iran, they see Gaza as very, very important to them, and I think they will. they will be fighting for Gaza until the very end, and I don't think Iran will rest until Gaza is free. Iran also fought for apartheid as well in South Africa, so they were one of the first countries to put sanctions on South Africa as well at the time. So this is Iran. Iran, they know about what's happening in Gaza, and that is not going to disappear. That will always be there. So what will happen is Iran will obviously make more money through like, sanction relief. They will be able to sell more oil and gas. They'll be making, they'll be paid reconstruction money. They'll be paid protection money from the Gulf countries, and they can also charge a toll as well. So they will be making a lot of money over the next few years. And if Iran makes a lot of money, more money will be given to the axis of resistance. And the axis of resistance will have more advanced weapons, they'll have more people, and they can fight against Israeli occupation and aggression even better or even harder against Israel. So that's basically the long-term play, and I think people need to understand that. Things like Gaza and what's happening around the Middle East is not something. It's a very, very complex situation. It's not something that can be done very quickly. The main problem with the Middle East is the sectarian um, divisions in the Middle East. If the Middle East were all united, all the Arabs and all the Persians and all the different Muslim countries, if they all were united, they didn't allow any American bases in there. They all were trading in different currencies, not just using dollar, but using different, currencies. They are not puppets to Israel or America. They have their own sovereignty. They make their own decisions. If it was like that, then Israel would not have dared to even touch anyone in Gaza or Palestine. It's the fact that the Middle East is so divided, you know, that's why Israel gets away with whatever they're getting away with. If you go back a few years ago, guys, a few years ago when they started the G side, Israel was fighting 7 fronts, guys. 7 fronts they were fighting. And I thought that Israel would not be able to withstand 7 fronts and they will collapse. I really did think that because they were fighting against obviously Hamas as well as number one, Hezbollah as well, number two. They were fighting against Yemen as well, number three. There were rockets coming from Yemen, and Yemen was blocking the Bab el Mandeb. They were fighting Iran at the time as well. They're fighting Syria at the time as well. They're fighting in the West Bank as well, and and also they're fighting in social media. In social media, they were losing the information war. So they were fighting in so many different like different sides, and I did not think Israel were going to be able to carry on. Then what happened? Basically, they they basically did this coup in Syria, and this coup came out of nowhere, and it took over Syria. They basically took over Syria, and it didn't even take that long, maybe like a few days or week. It happened so fast, and Assad was removed from power and replaced by al-Jalani, and everyone was thinking, what the hell happened? Instead of all of these Muslim countries fighting against Israel, their true enemy, what do? They fight each other and they collapse each other's governments. So once Syria, was taken care of, and this new government is obviously pro-Israel as well, and they also pro-Turkey. So we don't know, you know, we don't know if this was something Erdogan forced through or whether it was something Israel forced through. But either way, these guys seem to be very friendly towards Israel. So once Syria went, you know, you know, there was a huge problem with the axis of resistance because lots of the weapons and training that used to come from Iran and Iraq suddenly got blocked. They couldn't go through to Lebanon because everything used to go through Syria. And also, Israel would not be able to attack Iran because they would have had to fly over Syria. And if Syria was still, controlled by Assad, Israel would have had a very, very difficult time flying over Syria or flying around Syria to attack Iran. So once Syria went, they found an easy route to attack Iran. They're basically flying their planes across Syria and across northern Iraq, and they basically found an easy route. So Syria was the key. So you see, like, do you see what I mean, guys? These sectarian violence and these sectarian groups, all the Muslims fighting each other rather than against one enemy is their biggest downfall. And when Israel were fighting against seven fronts, they were ready to go down. They would not be able to sustain that for too long. But instead, what did they do? They just fight each other, collapse each other's countries, kill each other, and I just couldn't believe it, guys. I just thought, oh my God, what the hell? What kind of low IQ is this? So you see, things like Gaza, and the whole Middle East is a very, very complicated situation, very complicated. Even I fully don't understand it sometimes, but I know one thing. I think eventually Gaza and Palestine would be free because think about it, guys. Israel is making so many enemies in the region. They're killing so many Muslims and women and children. All the youngsters growing up in all these Muslim countries, they are watching it live stream on social media. They're watching it all. And these children are going to be eventually growing up and they will eventually be running their countries. So they're not going to forget this. So I think Israel's time is going to be up very, very soon. Whether it's next 5 years, 10 years, we don't know. But we know that there's a divorce going on with America and Israel right now. And Trump has got a choice either to let Israel go or keep doing what Israel wants. And then America will be dragged down alongside Israel. And if America gets dragged down, it's going to be the end of America, guys. It's going to be the end of the dollar. Countries are not going to be using the dollar. The whole world's economy is going to go down because of the oil prices. It's going to be absolute mayhem. And I'm sure America doesn't want that. I'm sure Trump doesn't want that. I'm sure, like, other world leaders don't want that. So, yeah, Trump's going to have to make a big choice, you see. So, yeah, I think that's kind of answered most of the questions. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think do you think this signing will happen on Friday, or is it just a smokescreen? Do you think this Israeli American thing is real, or are they really going to have a divorce, or is it just a theater? Who knows? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.